Welcome back to Inktoberfest. Can you believe we are down to our final week? So today I'm going to be showing you my top tips for distress inks and distress oxides. I just had a funny noise on black cardstock. So for this technique, you really do want a stamp platform. You're going to find that much easier. Now, distress oxides, they're not a hybrid ink. They are a they are a dye and pigment fusion. They are not a hybrid. Okay, so they behave slightly differently. And I'm going to choose a stamp here. Let's choose a wreath from this lovely new Pink and Main set. This is their holiday wreath set. So I'm going to pick this one out here. Now, if you use regular distress ink on dark cardstock, you're never going to see it because it's a dye ink. Dye inks soak into cardstocks, and you're not going to see that. If you want to learn about these different things, we do have an Essentials of Card Making course. We go deep into all of these things, like when you can use different inks, how you use them on different cardstocks, all of those amazing things. You can check that out in the description, and of course in the blog post as well. But, you know, I'm going to show you, if I just touch that up there in the corner, you don't see it. I mean, I can see a slightly wet mark, but that's going to go away as it dries. Whereas with Distress Oxides, you can use them on black cardstock. So this is my Twisted Citron, and you'll see even they look different. Actually, I have two cracked pistachios. So this is cracked pistachio in the black here is a regular distress, and the silver is the oxide. And you can see they just look different already. And that is that pigment dye fusion. So there's some really cool chemistry going on inside of there. And they give you some really awesome effects and things, but one thing I really love them for is stamping on black cardstock because you don't have to heat emboss. Now, I've had a few people say, well, they don't work. I tried it on black cardstock and it didn't look like anything. So I'm going to show you my top tips. So I'm just stamping out my image here. And right now it looks great, but we're going to give it a few seconds. And what you're going to notice is that dye element of it soaks into your cardstock and it starts to go less of it vibrant, so it's not going to look as vibrant as Twisted Citron should. But what happens is the pigment layer stays on top, and this is why using a stamp platform is essential to this technique, because you want your cardstock in the same place. Do you see how it's already fading in? Like up here where it's still wet, it looks great, but where it's getting dry down here, it's already going in. And I'm just going to take my Heat It tool. And no, this is not recommended to use it in your MISTI, and I'm kind of doing it very carefully, but I just want to dry this off quickly, and I don't want my cardstock to move. If you're wondering why I don't use magnets, it's because I have sticky sheets in the background. I have a whole tutorial on how to install those and why they're so amazing, all those kinds of things. Don't move, cardstock, we want you right there. So you can now see it looks far more dull than when we first started, whereas what you need to do is build up the layers. So because that pigment has stayed on top of your cardstock, that's going to create a barrier for that next dye pigment layer to sit on top of. So if I do the same, you see it suddenly comes out really vibrant. But what you're going to notice is that does not go as dull as the first one. And what you can do is you can keep building up as many layers. I find that 3 is kind of a really good number, so I'll do this one more time. But doing this is amazing. And you will find that all of a sudden all of your distress oxides are going to pop on top of your dark cardstock. So whether it's navy, whether it's black, just like this. This is the Hero Hues black, and it works really well. We could stamp, for instance, a bow in the middle, so we could do something a bit more solid. While this is thinking about soaking in. Actually, we'll do one more layer, just like this. And I'm going to stamp, and that is going to stay really vibrant on them. So the tip with Distress Oxides, if you're doing them on dark cardstocks, is to do a couple of layers, and that's just because you need to create that barrier for the ink to sit on top of. But we could pop this in the middle here, or even maybe just down here. I'm just going to pick up some of that ink just because it wasn't dry, but I'm going to use my peacock feathers. Whee! And you could, of course, add the red like a festive berries or something. You know, you can add anything you want in here. Or you could add some heat embossing if you wanted to too. But you see how that's really dull for my first layer? I've got to wait for the glossiness to go off of that so that I can stamp down again. I can ink up. Ready? And it's pretty much soaked in. Cardstock's juicy. It likes ink. And you'll see now how that's getting brighter and brighter on there. Now, because it has pigment in it, you could also heat emboss on top of that as well. So, you know, you can create all of these cool techniques, and because of the pigment in there, if you work quickly enough, you see how that colour's really building up now in vibrancy. So you could build up to really as vibrant as you want to be. I mean, that's how vibrant you could get it onto the dark. Here we go. So now I have a really nice poppy bow on my wreath. So another top tip for you. So if you're enjoying these top tips, come back again tomorrow. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, all of those fun things. And I will be sharing with you more of my top tips, tricks, and ideas with different types of ink. I'll see you then for the rest of Inktoberfest. Bye.